Hey, Betty. Sorry, I tried to wave, but I was black screen.
Just a sec. There you go. I'm sharing screen with Lindsay.
I see that. Yeah.
You guys got a lot of ink in the paper today.
Oh, I haven't read it.
It was Greg and Chelsea and Katie.
Yeah.
I got one.
Oh, that was, yeah. Chris called the other day.
Well, there's no question that getting kids in school is gonna be better. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
Every school across the state, you know, the larger schools that are that struggle with the distancing, be grateful to come in. Nancy, is Dr. Lamb, you think he's queued up?
Well, he has the link, so he'll be
Okay.
coming in. It may be as a phone number, so I don't know how Jason will tell that, but
Okay.
yeah, he will be on.
I will keep an eye out for him.
Okay.
You could borrow one of his daughter's Chromebooks. Get on. They do it every day.
Yeah.
They do. They help him. They assist him.
When my son-in-law comes over, I tried to do anything we're gonna do with the TV different, you know, while he's there, so it can be right.
Yep, us too.
Yeah, it's like, well, CJ, you're looking less peaked from earlier this week. Yeah, glad to see you back on your feet. I hate this. I can always see my tie when I'm doing this. And I said, well, is that straight? I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. I guess I'm still old school because I still wear a tie. Not very many do anymore. Oh, there you go. It blends, Greg.
It's my Ben Merrill China tie.
Well, let's wait one more minute and then go ahead and get started. I know everybody's got busy schedules and are we slowing down, Jason?
Yeah, we had a little burst there, but I think we've got pretty much everybody in. I'll just keep letting them in as we go.
Okay. Oh, this doesn't look right. My share part's not looking right, Jason. Yeah, there we go. I pushed enough buttons and it worked.
Okay. I was gonna give you a couple tips, but I was gonna see if you could get it worked out.
Yeah, I just kept pushing some buttons. Well, first off, want to welcome everybody here this evening. Appreciate everybody that's taken the time to, become as informed as possible. And yeah, I just really appreciate the folks that are on the meeting. I'm Mark Whitty, Superintendent Baker School District. Nancy Staton is here from the Health Department, been a great partner with us this whole year. Really appreciate the Health Department. And then Dr. Lamb is here also from the Health Department. And then Greg Mitchell there's a few things he'll be going over on the slides too. We want to provide an overall overview of where we're at in the current situation. And then we definitely want to take some questions. And we found that the efficient way to do this, and Jason, I'll let you go through that so people know how to get their questions up and answered.
Sure. So we tend to keep the meetings a little bit more restricted when we have a large group. It just helps them flow a little better. And what we prefer is that if you've got questions, if you can type them out in the chat bar, there's down on the very bottom of the meeting window, you'll see a little button that says chat, and you can click that. And if you type your questions in there, we actually have some lovely folks who will be conveying those questions to Mr. Whitty in the background. And then any questions we can't get to, we're going to actually keep a dialogue of the entire chat text. And then that way we can come out with some FAQs and address any questions we can't get to tonight.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. And let's see, any additional questions? If you come up with a question after this particular meeting, you can email it to in-person-questions at, and I can't see it because my screen, bakersd.org. So that'd be a place. And if you forget that, you can email me directly or Jason. You can find us on the webpage. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. This has been a challenging year for everybody, especially for our students and families. But we certainly have had a lot of collaboration to try to do the very best job that we can. I do want to say right up front that we've been fortunate to have our staff be very supportive of the things that we've done and have worked hard to get kids in under the regulations, under the rules, but they've worked especially hard to make sure and be able to do that. And I just really appreciate the willingness of our staff to serve our students at the highest level possible. Unfortunately, that's not the case across Oregon, if you've been following the news any, but I definitely appreciate that. But, we work with ODE, Oregon Department of Education, the Oregon Health Authority, obviously the Baker County Health Department, and we follow the guidelines and guidance that has come out. We continue to disinfect, do our cleaning routines, screening and health protocols, including masks and regular hand washing and sanitizing. And then our staff has learned new practices and routines to be able to, as well as our students and families, quite frankly, to get this job done. The district is really, we made the largest technology and software purchase in the history of this district. We're pushing $1 million for the technology and the software to go ahead and be able to manage multiple different environments for education. This year, I've been a superintendent for my 11th year as a superintendent, and then I've been 15 years as a high school principal in various places. But so 26 years in administration, and I've never repurposed as many staff members in my career. We just had to make a lot of adjustments with staff. And once again, the staff has been very willing under the circumstances to adjust what they thought they were going to be doing and what we needed them to do to be able to move forward. So just very appreciated of that. We provided a lot more training to staff than at the beginning of the year and throughout than normal, especially around the health protocols and then the new technology. And we continue to work hard to provide up-to-date communication for our community and families and students. I think most of you know we utilize Parent Square, our school and district website pages, Bulldog Pride, Elkhorn Media, and Baker City Herald, and then multiple press releases, and other ways that we try to make sure we're keeping people up to speed. Updates right now, and I can only say that right now because the reality is that our case counts in the community, and Dr. Lamb and Nancy will speak to that a bit. Right now, we're officially at a current lower risk level for the spread of COVID-19. I do want to emphasize, and we've been emphasizing this to the state on multiple occasions and to the governor directly, actually. We haven't had an outbreak of COVID-19 within our schools. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't had somebody in our school that had COVID-19, COVID had it. What it means, though, is they didn't spread it to anybody else. And so the health protocols, keeping kids home, families cooperating, keeping kids home when they're safe, washing their hands, wearing the mask, they do work. And the physical distancing, all those things have worked. And so, I can't guarantee that we wouldn't have a spread, but thus far, because the families, the students, and the staff are doing a good job, we've been able to keep it to where we don't have a spread. And plus the work that the health department is doing to help quarantine students quickly when we learn that they have, the potential COVID-19. all of that is combined to help us make sure to keep things safe for students, staff, and families. OHA has now formally recognized the research is indicating that the risk of COVID-19 spread is low in schools. But I think that's got to be said with a point of caution. It's low in schools because schools are managing to do the health protocols to the very best of their ability. Without that, I don't think that would be true. All of our Baker 5J staff have had the opportunity to be vaccinated for COVID-19. They've had the opportunity to have their 2 shots and in fact would be fully immune at this point. It's hard for me to know the exact percentage that have actually in fact been vaccinated, but I think it's somewhere between 65 and 75. Obviously that's personal information, but we got a pretty good handle, somewhere between 65 and 75% have, we believe, have gotten vaccinated. ODE just released updated guidance last couple of weeks, increasing allowable cohort sizes. And these are 2 critical points that have been the holdup for being able to get secondary students in every day. So they've increased the cohort sizes and reduced the distance requirements for students under certain conditions. And so what that's going to allow is our secondary Baker 5J students, those who are willing and want to, can come back in full-time on April 12th. Okay, physical distancing requirements. So the updated Ready School Safe Learners guidance allows 3 feet now for physical distancing under certain conditions. Now, we've been advocating for this, but the reality is that the World Health Organization a few weeks ago had come up with that recommendation, and then the CDC soon thereafter, right before spring break, and then OHA right before spring break, had given us this information. Now, staff are still required under the regulations to maintain 6 feet in physical distancing, and distance must remain 6 feet when students are eating. That's going to be one of our challenges, is to have the full number of students back in both the middle school and the high school. And it requires split lunches and some creative spacing in places we wouldn't normally eat to maintain that 6 feet. Both staff and students will be required to wear masks while at school unless they're eating. Really no huge changes are currently anticipated at K through 6. We were able to organize around cohort size based on the rules early, and we had the staffing available to make it work for K through 6, and we had the space to make it work for K through 6. So we're set up to primarily have the 6 feet component, but we are going to allow, when we're doing small group work around reading and mathematics in our elementary schools, to get to a closer distance to the 3 feet. And we believe that'll help us be able to communicate more effectively with those students to be able to succeed. Contact tracing still is going to be the same rule to address any exposure. So you can take a circle around any student that is going to be quarantined because they have COVID-19. And if they've been at school before, symptoms exhibited, you can draw a circle around that student in every class of 6 feet, and those students will be quarantined. It's critical that we really follow the protocols as best as we can to the best of our ability, because we do run the risk of getting in a situation where we'd have to quarantine a large segment of our student body, which would defeat the purpose of bringing students back. So, we need to continue to do the very best we can to keep kids safe. Nancy, I think this is the health department slide.
It is. Well, good evening, everybody. I'll give you some updates on cases that we've had within the past month or so. So the week that ended February 28th, we had 19 cases. The week of March 9th. So our weeks go from Sunday to Saturday every week. So that week of March 7th, we had 15 cases. The week of March 14th, we had 9. And last week we had 31. So the week of March 21st, we had 31 cases. And so far this week, I'm really sad to report, but we're sitting at 35 cases. So that's for 5 days. We've still got Friday and Saturday to go, but we're looking at 35 cases. So our cases have certainly increased in the last couple weeks. And so we're case investigating and contact tracing as rapidly as we can. Unfortunately, our case count is up. Now, our goal is to keep it out of our schools. So if we're able to isolate positive cases, quarantine close contacts, that will help us achieve that goal. You know, the metrics, the county risk metrics are updated each week. We continue to work with 5J. We've worked with 5J for well over a year at this point,
Yeah.
and we will continue to do so. You know, and our goal is to protect our students, our staff, and our families. And in public health, we know how important it is to get kids back in school. And so we are doing everything in our power to help the schools do that.
And I would add that one of our hopes is that by April 12th, 2 weeks will have occurred since spring break. And I'm just hoping that these case counts in the community will start to go down, because potentially during spring break, there was a lot of small group gatherings, but that's a hope.
Right. Yes, yes. And we can achieve that. Vaccinations. I wanted to give you a percentage of our county that have been vaccinated in Baker County. Unfortunately, the data, they took it off the Oregon Health Authority website. So we have in our county, I feel very fortunate because we have St. Alphonsus Medical Center and the hospital, St. Luke's, Eastern Oregon Medical Associates. We have our local pharmacies, Pine Eagle Clinic, as well as the health department that are all vaccinating people. So I think we all have worked together to get our folks vaccinated. We continue to do that. And so I wish I had the statistics of what our percentage is, but I do not. So we're going to continue to vaccinate. We've had some huge clinics. We're continuing to do so. And as people come on board and say, hey, I want the vaccine, they can go to any of those community partners, as well as go to our Baker County COVID website, which is posted right here, to bakercountycovid19.com, and you can fill out a questionnaire, and your information will go into the database. We'll see it on the back end, and then we will call and schedule, or somebody else, you know, maybe even another facility may call. You can also call 541-523-0015, and that's our PIO line, and you'll have to leave a message, but we will call you back as well. And so, Dr. Lamb, do you want to talk about why we get the COVID-19 vaccine? What your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, so the reason that we should all get the COVID-19 vaccine is really so we can help stop this spread. If you think about vaccines in general and what they do, they help the body create an immunity to whatever we're trying to immunize against. So, for example, polio back in the 1950s was devastating. The vaccine came out, it was only about 50 to 54% effective. And in the matter of just a few years, new cases of polio were almost unheard of. I've been in practice for about 25 years. I've never seen a new case of polio, which is amazing. Our current vaccines are on the order of 75 to 95% effective. And even more impressive, I think, is even if that's effective in preventing significant illness, but they're even more effective in helping decrease the risk of transmission. And so I think the main reason that the population should get vaccinated, yes, they're helpful for the individual, but for the community, if we can help decrease the transmission, we can keep the most vulnerable people from getting seriously ill and dying. We've had a dozen deaths in our county from this virus, and that's tragic. And we don't want to see any more. And if we can get vaccinated, we can decrease the spread. We can keep our schools open. We can keep our businesses open. We can prevent deaths, and we can move on through this and get back to somewhat normal lives.
Nancy, do you want to add anything
And there's
more?
Well, I was just thinking about the vaccine. You know, there's 3 types of vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine is 16 and over. So 16 and 17-year-olds, we're working on figuring out how many of those students want the Pfizer vaccine. And we're working with some of our outlying other counties to get vaccine here so we can vaccinate these 16 and 17-year-olds. Johnson and Johnson and Moderna are for 18 years of age and older. So, I mean, whatever vaccine people can get, whatever's available, they really should get that. The Pfizer and the Moderna are 2 doses. The Pfizer's 21 days apart between first and second dose. Moderna is 28 days between first and second, and Johnson and Johnson is a single dose, 1 dose and done. So those are the options. And, you know, I think if we want to get back to some sense of normal, this is definitely one of the things we need to do. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lamb and Nancy. Appreciate it. I know for us, we want to get kids back to school and get normalized as soon as we possibly can. And, you know, our estimation of the only way that we're going to be able to get there is if we can get the vaccine out and widely used. Okay, so Baker School District, this has been really a growth year for us as far as learning new things and providing different types of opportunities. And quite frankly, some of these learnings are going to be able to help us serve individual student needs moving forward that I think can be quite positive. But we've created a whole new school, Baker Virtual Academy, K through 6. It's asynchronous, meaning that the student can take the curriculum at their pace and time, not on the pace and time of the teacher. Jody, I'm thinking that 115 or 16 has been about the number of students we've had in that particular school, K through 6. And that school will continue into next year because some families are finding this to be a quality way and works with their family in a positive way. And so we'll definitely keep that particular school open. As of now, we have 49 families or students saying that they would like to continue with that. EOCAP Innovative High School, serving grades 7 through 12, also is moved into asynchronous, meaning again that the students take the curriculum at their pace, not the teachers, and their schedule, their family schedule. We have upwards of 162 students in that school as of today. No, excuse me. As of today, previously that school would normally have about 20, 25 students. And so we've seen a tremendous growth in that school. And again, there appears to be a demand from families that want to continue in that vein around asynchronous education, or potentially take 5 classes or 6 classes in the brick and mortar setting, and then take 1 or 2 classes asynchronously. And so that's going to be a great opportunity for us that we're going to be able to serve families and you know, their educational goals in a you know, more fluid way. Hybrid instruction for secondary students. We've been doing that and will continue actually. And in that regard, students have been able to go be at home or at school and be able to receive their education. So secondary students, grades 7 through 12, will join our primary students in full-time in-person instruction starting Monday, April 12th. And so we're super excited about that. And you know, the guidance is going to allow us to do it. ODA and OHA have come around to that point, and Baker County Health Department is supporting us. So we're very, very pleased with that. And there still will be comprehensive distance learning, which is synchronous. So we have a few students that, for various reasons, have not gone to ELCAP or Baker Virtual. This mainly in the secondary setting, though, have decided to stay home and just do theirs through comprehensive distance learning with the technology components that we've put into place. But synchronous means that their schedule matches the teachers and the other students in the class, whereas asynchronous, the student has their own schedule. Let's see, Greg, I think this one's yours.
Yeah. So at the secondary level, what we're asking is for families to communicate with us if they plan to do something different on after April 12th, moving forward. Right now, as Mr. Whitty said, we have several students that have been participating virtual only, and we are getting feedback from them right now from some people that have decided that they do wish to continue on with virtual instruction. And per the state guidelines, that is something that we need to offer folks if they have health concerns or they have people in their households who are maybe health compromised or something like that. We need to accommodate them, and we will be doing that. But we have, as we've gone through this hybrid model, we have seen some students start to make some decisions about, well, I don't feel like going to school today, so I'm gonna, even though it's my in-person day, I'm gonna go virtual. We're really wanting to curtail that. We have to set up our seating charts for contact tracing and our physical spaces for distancing in such a manner that we know who is going to attend, who will be present, and be able to communicate those to our health department if there is a concern. But we will be offering this virtual learning hybrid model with Zoom still in place. So teachers will be doing lesson planning and they'll kind of be splitting their focus between the students that are in their classroom as well as those that are out there at home and participating virtually. And then, of course, the material will be available through the Schoology learning platform that we've introduced this year. So that'll continue to be available for students, which is a nice resource for them. And we'll be recording lessons and being able to students to access those. Attendance expectations are going to remain the same for all of our students. Nothing's changed in that regard. So it's going to be pretty much modus operandi. We're just going to be increasing the number of days that students are going to be coming. Right now, they alternate every other day, and moving forward after April 12th, they're going to have the opportunity to be there every day of the week. And when students do arrive, really this also has not changed. This is the process that we go through. We are looking for those primary symptoms as children come into the buildings. They get screened, whether or not they have a fever, chills, cough, all of those. And if they do, then we move to isolation. And we'll talk about that momentarily. But what families can do to really help us stay in business with in-person learning is, if you know that your student's sick, we ask parents, and this was pre-pandemic as well, if you know that your student's sick, then we ask you to keep them home to prevent the spread of illness. If students come to school and they become ill and they're showing those signs, then we will be contacting parents, and we hope that they can make it as quickly as possible to pick up their student or release them on their own recognizance if they're a driver, et cetera, and they're healthy enough to do that. Communicate any symptoms that you're observing at home to the schools so that we are aware of that. And we have face coverings at home, at school, and we hand out a lot of masks, but we just don't have enough masks to be handing one out to every student as they come in. And most students are coming with their own masks, so that hasn't been an issue. And nothing helps this cause any more than following the OHA guidelines of distancing, of hygiene, facial coverings, all those precautionary measures that we're being encouraged throughout society to follow. In the schools, as I said, we screen the students when they come in. We ask them if they're experiencing any symptoms. We take their temperature, and we do require them to wear face coverings and sanitize their hands as they're coming in. And we will, if we get a student that either, present symptoms, or when they come in, they say, yeah, I am feeling symptomatic, we will isolate them. We have a few spaces where we isolate them, and then the protocol is to contact the parents. We contact the parents and we reach out to them and see if they can, how soon someone can come and pick them up. Also, it has been protocol for us to maintain stable cohorts, so we don't have mixing of different groups that can affect one another. That's why we're operating on a hybrid A/B rotation. We are continually washing hands and cleaning our classrooms in between buildings. We clean all the tables and chairs in between the 2 lunches that we host. We do a deep cleaning every week as well, fogging our facility. And so it's worked out really well, and we have not had an outbreak, as Mr. Whitty said, within our school. And we are out there we're really out there in the lead in the state for having students in person at this point.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I think there was a question, Nancy, that was forwarded to you that maybe you could answer now.
The very beginning, the first question that asks, how does this vary from the numbers that the Oregon, is that the one you're talking about, Mark?
Well, I was just told that they had forwarded a question to you, so that's I'm just going off my text.
It just wanted to know, okay, if it wanted to match, our case count does match the numbers that are that Oregon Health Authority and the ODE provides. So those do match. If they don't, Dr. Lamb and I question them.
Okay, thank you for that. And there's a couple other questions that have come in. Buell, I think I saw you on here. Buell Gonzalez is the lead in our transportation department. Buell, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you see the question I sent your direction?
I did, yeah. So the bus routes, we were able to add 2 more bus routes with more drivers. And basically what that's done for us is it's given us the ability to meet that increase in need to get those people. Now, granted, what we do need to know is exactly how many more students are coming back and things like that. That's why it's so important for us to get that information back. But the bus department is ready to go and ready to do the things that they need to do to pick up all the students. We are utilizing community connections as well, so that's also going to help mitigate the crowding on the buses. But we are still going to follow the mandates, keep kids 3 feet apart and things like that. So we're ready.
Thank you, Buell. I know that team has worked really hard, and quite frankly, we've never had as many routes and as many bus drivers in the history of this district just to try to manage it. But we wanted to do everything we could to be able to get kids here, and that team has done a miraculous job of getting that done. And keep in mind, contact tracing. So every place where the students are, whether it be a bus or in a classroom, we keep a record so that we can give that information to the health department, and then they can go from there and do the contact tracing. So that's part of our responsibility. Nancy, I understand there's another question that's been pushed towards your way.
There is. The question is, if you have been vaccinated, can you still get COVID-19 and spread it to others? The spreading part to other, I'll let Dr. Lamb answer the first part of it, but the second part is spreading it to others. They still don't know yet. And Dr. Lamb, what would you say for if they've been vaccinated, it's been 14 days from their second dose or their first dose, can they still get COVID-19?
So yes, it's possible to still get COVID-19 after someone's been fully vaccinated, but it's incredibly rare. Yes, it happens, but not anywhere near it would be if somebody had no vaccine or only one dose. So the rates of transmission or rates of becoming ill with COVID-19 after full vaccine is incredibly rare. The rates of transmission is also very, very low.
Okay, then another question that came in, is campus still closed at the middle school and the high school? And the answer is, I see Greg nodding. The answer is yes. We've got to be able to try to maintain the contact tracing components to this program. And we feel strongly that we want to do everything we can to make sure we're keeping the school open. And so the campuses will still remain closed for lunch. And let's see, Nancy, did you guys, I'm losing track here. Did you get another question or maybe I'm conflating?
I think that we're good. I think we're
Okay.
up to date.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's some questions that we've gotten. What if our family isn't comfortable participating in in-person yet? And so K through 12, there still is that opportunity of asynchronous education, either through Baker Virtual Academy, K through 6, and Eagle Cap Innovative High School, 7 through 12, junior senior high school, 7 through 12. So there's that opportunity. And if you're one of those families that haven't really been coming in on the 2 days, by regulation, we still need to be able to offer the CDL component, comprehensive distance learning. And so you'll be able to plug in, but that'll be synchronous. What we don't want is kids picking and choosing which days they're in and out. So if a student chooses and family chooses that they're going to stay home and do comprehensive distance learning, that's what our expectation is moving forward for the rest of this year. And if a family chooses that they're going to be in 4 days, then the expectation is that they'll be there 4 days. And so we want to do the very best for our students. Quite frankly, as a father and a grandparent, most children, most students, young and old, learn best, not all, but most learn best when they're in school, in that seat and paying attention. So that's the way we're going to approach that. Okay, see, Greg, I think you got the next one.
Yes, so the question is, what if my student gets sick at school and then the parent isn't available? We will contact everybody on the contact list that we have for that student who's been authorized by the parent to make these decisions. We also have a school-based health center at the high school available if a student, and they could do an evaluation. But we also have office staff that are now trained to administer the 15-minute rapid response test. That was part of the new guidelines from the state, that if we were going to be operating in person, that we needed to have personnel trained in that. And so when we contact parents, if they do give us permission, we can administer that test. And at least we would still need to isolate the ill student. It wouldn't change the fact that the student would need to go home. However, it would provide some information about whether or not that student may be COVID positive at that point. And then just provide that information and peace of mind to the parent.
And of course, and I think you mentioned this, Greg, but I'll just emphasize it. It's a family choice if they want to utilize that rapid testing. And every one of our schools has that capability at this juncture to be able to provide that.
And I didn't say, I'm sorry, I didn't say that, as I did before, though, that, if a student is a driver and they are capable and the parent gives them permission, and at the high school level, half of our students are drivers, they can be released on their own recognizance, or somebody else can come and pick them up who's on the list.
Okay, Nancy, I think you and Dr. Lamb have the rest of the questions.
I think we do. So the next question is, if we're asked to quarantine, what does that mean? And so number one, that means that you've been exposed to someone who is test positive for COVID-19. You would need to stay home for 14 days after the date of last exposure. And during that time, you need to monitor for signs and symptoms. If you develop symptoms, we recommend testing. But if you're asked to quarantine, that means that you're a close contact of somebody who's tested positive for COVID. Now, isolation, they talk about that, and isolation is if you test positive for COVID-19, that you isolate from 10 days from onset of symptoms. So that's the difference between quarantine and isolation. The next question is, what is the chance of an entire classroom or school being quarantined? Would that push students back into comprehensive distance learning? And if we're able to isolate the positive COVID case and quarantine, it may or may not be a whole classroom or a whole bus. It just depends on the situation. Of course, the younger grades are easier to we may have to quarantine a whole classroom. The older students, it would be less likely. So we would work, not necessarily, we know as the cohort sizes change, the risk is a little greater, but we would certainly not want to push students back into comprehensive distance learning. If we could isolate, say, one classroom, a class of first graders, that wouldn't mean we'd have to quarantine all of Brooklyn School.
And Nancy, I'll just add a little
Dr.
bit.
Lamb, you have the next.
I'll
Okay.
add a little bit to that, Nancy. When you're looking at the 7 through 12, it may be that we have one student that was in class for a day that turns out to have COVID-19. So we would provide the health department the data, and it's likely that we'd draw a circle around that student at 6 feet in each section they were in, and those students that were within the 6 feet would be quarantined. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. So Dr. Lamb, I think you have the next two.
So why can't we take our masks off once we are vaccinated? Yeah, that's a good question. The answer, I think, lies in the reason that we wear masks to begin with is not to protect ourselves so much. It might help a little bit, but really we wear masks to keep from infecting the people around us. And so unless we know that everyone around us is vaccinated, we still need to wear our masks, at least until we have such low transmission in the community that it's not here anymore. If we know that everyone's vaccinated, the CDC has now said we can socialize with other vaccinated people that are not in our own households. And so that, I've now that I've been vaccinated for 3 months, and some of my friends have been vaccinated, I've been in small groups of 5 or 6 people. Everyone is vaccinated. We don't wear our masks. If someone walks in and I don't know if they're vaccinated, I got to put my mask on. So that's why we have to wear a mask until we know that everybody around us is vaccinated. Next question: when or how will we get back to normal? That I think this is really goes back to my statement earlier about getting vaccinated, continuing to wear our masks when we're around people who haven't been vaccinated, washing our hands frequently, adhering to all the things we've been doing for a year, avoiding those gatherings where we don't know if everybody's been vaccinated, and if we are there, we got our masks on. That's the only way we're going to get back to normal.
Thank you, Nancy and Dr. Lamb. See, Betty or Lindsay, did Buell have another question that you guys sent his direction? Buell, if you could take that question. Oh, did we lose him?
Sorry, technical difficulties here. Yeah, had another question about bus times. And as best as we can do, the bus times will remain the same starting on the 12th. And I'm sure there will be some adjustment period as we move forward, but they will remain the same.
Okay.
Pick up and drop off.
Thank you. Okay, you know, we went into this pandemic and we were very intentional around some notions of, hey, we're going to learn some things as we move forward that we want to pack with us past the pandemic. And so for us, for Baker School District, we've really learned how to create and operate more flexible learning opportunities for K through 12 students. We're able to do this in large part because we made a huge investment in technology infrastructure to be able to do that. We've gotten very good at opportunities around synchronous and asynchronous learning. And so every student within our K-12 organization now would have the opportunity, if their family chooses, to do asynchronous learning, where prior to this, we didn't have that capability. We've also are working hard to be able to, especially at the upper grade levels, start to tailor more to each individual student and family desires. And they don't necessarily have to have their curriculum from one platform. So a student could take some classes from our CTE wing at the high school. They could take some classes at Baker High School. They might take a college class online through Eagle Cap or a Florida virtual class through Eagle Cap. And then they might flat out just be taking a Stanford class from Stanford to get college credit that way. And so we think that we've learned quite a bit about how we can be more fluid with choices so students can start to really drill in on what their desires are. Now, I want to be clear, and I've told the admin team this multiple times, is we're not looking for the easiest pathway for a student to get to graduation. What we're doing is we're looking for rigorous ways that students can get to graduation that best fits where they're trying to get to. And so by the use of these multiple platforms, we're hoping that we can engage and create curriculum that's tailored more for that student. Okay, what's next? Well, the board definitely has a consensus to move back on April 12th. We did, as I mentioned before, take a 2-week buffer in spring break. We're hoping that that'll help us get past the bump of COVID cases. You know, our building principal staff are getting prepped and prepared and walking through the steps to take on the more students 7 through 12. Obviously, we're still going to do all the health protocols and diligent cleaning and disinfecting. Want to continue updating families. And we are starting to move into fall registration, where families need to make some choices as to how they want to engage with us next year. I know, Jason, you've been working on those platforms. I don't know if you want to give a little bit of an update of where you're at with that.
Sure. You know, the biggest thing that's come about is that we're really hoping to make things even more simple for parents this year in registering, even amongst kind of some of the shifting complexities with asynchronous and synchronous. Our goal with enrollment and registration is to make it even easier for parents. And that's what we're really pushing for this summer.
And it takes a family to really understand the different platforms. And so it does require, if we're going to utilize the different platforms and families want to take advantage of that, they do have to take some time. And we obviously need to give opportunities for education, but families need to take some time and really consider what is in the best interest of their family and their particular student. So with multiple platforms and multiple opportunities, it just requires a more thoughtful approach from all parties to make that work. Now, people have asked me on multiple occasions, what does September of 2021 look like? And the reality is that I don't know. I am very positive that since we were able to get all students back in this spring, that we will be able to get we'll be able to start off school with everybody in next fall. Will we be wearing masks or not wearing masks? Well, I don't think Dr. Lamb, Nancy, or myself could honestly give an answer to that. Am I mistaken, Dr. Lamb, or? um,
I think it's too soon to tell. Yeah.
Yeah,
It depends really on how many of our population we can get vaccinated, I think, in the next coming months.
yeah, I think that's absolutely true. So more data needs to be done. And like Dr. Lamb had mentioned, the only pathway I can see to getting back to normalcy for our students, and we need to, is to get vaccinations throughout our community. That's just the pathway to it. I want to also really, I guess I got a couple questions. I'm looking at a couple things at a time, but they're coming this way. I do want to emphasize that this has been hard on families. I don't think we should at any point not recognize that this has been challenging for every family. And you know, there's been a lot of sacrifices by this generation and through this time frame. And so, you know, my goal is to get back to as much normalcy as we can safely, when we can do it safely, to do the best we can with students. Okay, here's a question that's got several questions here. So are there any concerns about mental health of our kids through all this? And the short answer is absolutely. We know that that this has created isolation for some. It's interesting. There are a few students that we know actually are doing better with the distance learning. There are a few that actually have thrived in this environment, but we also know that we have more that have really gone the other way. And so our counseling departments have been very focused on trying to do the best services we possibly can. It's one of the main reasons that I've really been pushing to get all students in, is the mental health aspect. It's just not healthy for a lot of our students to be isolated and away from their friends and teachers. So yeah, there's definitely a concern, and I think that concern will play into next year too. We'll be doing specific things to be able to try to work with students. And that's really in the realm of our counseling departments and all the things they're doing. But and Barry Nemec would probably be the best person that could speak at length with that. Okay, let's see. Are we going to have some type of movement to gain students back who want to went to other charter schools in the state? I believe that will be the case. We certainly will do our best to recapture students. What I do know, though, is that we've lost fewer students than many school districts our size, just listening to other superintendents in multiple superintendent meetings. In some cases, it's been quite severe. For us, it really hasn't been that severe. And part of the reason I believe is because our staff has been willing to be highly flexible. We were able to create asynchronous opportunities right out of the gate going into this fall. But we definitely want to do our best to try to recapture. Let's see. I think those two questions are the same. So is there any other questions, Lindsay, at this time? Okay, now I do want to, and I know we're getting close to 7:30, but we are going to be offering a lot of different opportunities this summer, K through 12. And I want to make sure that people stay attuned to that. We have always offered, well, I haven't always, but since I've been here, we've offered a pretty healthy summer list, and Summer Academy being one of those components. That is going into motion. We're getting staff. We're definitely going to be doing that. And I think maybe more so than almost any other year, critical, if you have an opportunity to get your kid into Summer Academy, it'd be a good idea so we can do any catch up that we might need to do on an academic basis. Then from a secondary level, and especially 9 through 12, there's credit recovery. And You know, we're no different than most of the all school districts actually across the state. In fact, we're a little better off, but our failure rate is up under these new conditions. And so we want to do everything we can to provide opportunities this summer for those 9 through 12 students to be able to recapture and get that credit and move forward. So please stay tuned to those opportunities as we roll them out in the next 6 weeks. I think that'll be a critical piece. So again, really appreciate everybody's time. Certainly if there's some other questions, I don't mind sticking around for a while, but I'm looking at Lindsay and seeing if anything's coming in chat.
We haven't had any more questions in the chat, Mark.
Okay. If you do have a question and it comes into your mind, please, you could email us. Jason, what's that email address again that will go in?
Yeah, Mark, I just put it in the chat. It is in-person-questions@bakersd.org. And so you'll find that in the chat. I just put it there for everybody. And you can copy it down and send it there, and then we'll collect those.
And we'll go ahead and do an FAQ based on some of the questions that came up during this session. And then we'll send those FAQs out along with this presentation. So, you know, if you have a neighbor or a friend that wasn't able to come in and participate, they'd be able to listen to it and go from there. So really appreciate Dr. Lamb and Nancy for your time. I know you guys have spent, well, I don't want to get into how many hours, how many hours you guys have spent this year. But it's very, we're extremely grateful to the health department because without their professionalism and hard work, we wouldn't be able to manage and stay in school. And so it's a critical partnership for us. Okay, Lindsay, any other questions?
No other questions.
All right. I hope everybody has a great evening. And again, if there's something that comes to mind, just kick us an email. Have a good evening, guys.